Welcome to A State of Mind. This is Julian Royce. Today's episode is a special one. Today I'm speaking with Paul Temple, who is a musician, as well as a meditator and yogi. And so as part of our episode today, he actually shares with us his own music, what I would call a sound journey. As we discussed in our conversation together, he doesn't like to call himself a sound healer, but I think that's what many who experience his work may want to call him. He creates these beautiful, lush, rich soundscapes using his voice and Tibetan singing bowls and other instruments. And for this performance, he's chanting the mantra of Avalokiteśvara, Om Mani Padme Hum. And so it's just beautiful. So we talk for about 40 minutes or so, and then we have this musical performance. And I highly recommend you listen to it with good quality headphones or good speakers if you can, and really take it in. It's a kind of guided meditation and definitely a journey. As always, you can learn more about my work at astateofmindcounseling.org, and you can become a supporting member of this podcast through patreon.com/astateofmind, where you will get access to guided meditations as well as additional music and art from me. So check that out. As always, send us a message, let us know what you think. You can now send us a voice message as well through Apple Podcasts, and I believe through Spotify podcast as well. And check out the show notes below to learn more about Paul. You can see his website at radiancematrix.com and also diamondlightnetwork.com. And now I bring you Paul Temple. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And how would you introduce yourself and what you do?
Oh, how do I introduce myself? Well, my live streams, I currently say greetings. This is Paul Temple from the Diamond Light Network. When I give concerts with my set of Tibetan bowls here, I say, my name is Paul Temple, and when I am with this lovely set of Tibetan bowls, we are known as Radiance Matrix. So Radiance Matrix is the music project, and the Diamond Light Network is a new body of, a platform for a body of teachings that has come through to me.
So yeah, and we were just talking before we started recording that you don't call yourself a sound healer, but you do like sound bath or sound. It's definitely an auditory experience.
Yeah, I've been a musician all my life, and always had an interest in the sacred power of vibration. Mm-hmm. I think the largest term I feel comfortable with is nada yoga. Mm. So nada yoga is the yoga of sound. Nada is the sound, is the Sanskrit word for that primordial creative pulse of the universe that is the pulse of Brahma. So they also say Nada Brahma, where Brahma is, the supreme creator, and Nada is the vibrational force, and musicians have translated that as sound, vibration, music, so that sound is God, sound is the creative pulse of the universe. Western culture has taken music and sort of digitized it and monetized it and, categorized it, stylized it. And what I try to do is step back out of all those constructs into just very pure vibration. And the bowls have a very pure vibration. They're handmade in the Himalayas in Nepal, as you said you lived.
Yeah.
And then I do Tibetan Vajrayana mantra chanting.
With the music. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so just let the listeners know we're going to talk for a while, and then you can actually do
right, I'll do
your sound. And
yeah.
Talk more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I did get to live in Nepal for about a year. I think it was 9.5 months, but I saw the craftsmen, you can walk down the street and you see them in the little alleyways.
Yeah.
So many making the statues and these different bowls. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the man I get my bowls from, he knows the families that have been making them for many generations, so they're really very high quality. And his name is Soren Shrethra actually has a warehouse just down the street here. He does sound healing, and that he sets the bowls up in different configurations for different physical and energetic imbalances in the body, has protocols and teaches that. But I try to avoid the word healer with the work I do.
Yeah.
There are sound baths, there are transmissions that come through as one drops into deeper meditative states, but healing is a word that sets up this dynamic that somehow I'm going to fix you or heal you or change you, and that's, my spiritual teacher said that's a dynamic to avoid, particularly unless you are doing hands-on intentional healing work like a doctor or an acupuncturist or someone like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I had Jen Pfizer on an earlier podcast from Innate Path, and they're doing psychedelic assisted therapy and trauma-informed work, but this idea of, they called their practice Innate Path, and they developed a training with it, and this idea that healing is coming from within.
Right.
It just made me think of that, and it's a big thing to, maybe it can be paradoxical. I mean, you can receive help, people can help you to heal, but the actual healing is some kind of mysterious, magical, beautiful, hopefully, process that it's not like someone comes and makes that happen.
Right.
Like the doctor, if you break your arm, the doctor helps you with the cast, but then the bones heal themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a fine line between what, and particularly healing on the spiritual, the energetic plane, is subtler than doing direct physical, like acupuncture or therapy or plant medicine therapy. Those are intended as healers and as healing processes. But the sound piece is it's just a fine line between allowing someone to catalyze their own inner healing process and telling them that, I'm going to heal you, and boom, here we go, and that, B flat works with this chakra, and C works with that chakra. I find those systems a little too simplistic for what the real inner process is with sound and vibration and the awakening of the energy field. It's more complex and subtle than that.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes me think of the word being overly reified, overly concretized.
Right.
When you talk about that, and I like that. I mean, our subtle body, our chakras, it's called subtle body for a reason.
Right.
It's subtle.
Right.
And I think I've kind of come to the opinion or thought that there's so many different maps and techniques and practices and traditions around things like chakras and energy.
Yep.
And it's I think it's something that is subjective, but something that we're kind of creating or co-creating in ourselves. Like if you follow a particular path, then that will, it'll work for you.
Yeah. And that following of the path. So a lot of the work in the Diamond Light Network is about activating the heart center. And the heart center is different than the anatomical heart. It's different than the heart chakra. It is this seed of divine light that is it's actually in the heart chakra, but we call it the pearl of light. And the more that you begin to integrate that heart, activate that heart center, because it's been repressed and kind of lost and marginalized in our culture over centuries, really. The more that you then begin to magnetize your path and follow the path of the heart. So if you are attracted, if you are drawn to a particular spiritual path, that is likely a path that is going to help you with your soul healing. And that's, again, that's the bigger word of healing, because we all come in with wounded souls, and many people in this lifetime, their sole purpose is about healing ancestral patterns. So they'll incarnate into a particular lineage that might have some kind of pattern of emotional repression, physical abuse, or constructs of belief patterns that we actually set out to unwind. So going through that healing process of one unwinding can be part of one's soul mission. And finding the tools for that which is frequently involved with a meditation practice or a healing practice or a spiritual practice, is part of the heart magnetizing it, finding its path of healing. So.
Beautiful, yeah. Yeah, I've seen a number of different teachers talk about how important the heart is, and it's been a practice of mine. I've talked about a little bit on the podcast of just dropping down, almost like most of us, I think, are going through our days feeling like we're existing in our head, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like we're a little person looking out of the eyes, like they're windows in our submarine.
Yep.
Instead of just kind of imagine, or however to do it, to drop down and center yourself more from the heart, or
Yep.
more from the lower belly.
Yeah.
But I've seen, I got to see Ken Wilber one time give a talk. He's this integral philosopher, and he basically spent the whole talk talking about the heart as the center in terms of integrating ourselves in heaven and earth. And,
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I've heard Buddhist teachers say basically the same thing. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, the heart, in its original form, in the human construct, the heart is the center because it's our connection to the spirit realms. It is the seat of the soul. It's where our home as spiritual beings are. But over this dark age that we've been through for the last 20 centuries, it's been lost and marginalized. We've actually been cut off from heart integration through war and slavery and genocide and just all the horrors of what's human existence has been for the last 2,000 years. So we're beginning to come back to remember the heart and reconnect with it. And that's, again, much the work of the Diamond Light Network is to help people have simple practices to help people reconnect. So you say, drop in, do visualizations and mantra practices that really activate and help integrate it. So.
I love that. Yeah, one simple thing I'll do is just imagine and it's just in my mind. It doesn't literally happen, obviously, but imagine my eyes drop down into, because that's kind of, our
good.
eyesight is so connected with what we identify as.
And the perception through the heart, it is a little different. I mean, that seeing is one thing. There's this, we call, again, like heart has several different meanings of the physical heart and the energy center, the chakra. Feeling is a word that has different meanings, but there is we tend to use the word feeling for that sensing into something energetically, and that is a skill that comes more with the development of the heart. Perceiving subtle energy, having intuitive, empathetic, telepathic awareness, connection, perceptions. Those, as we develop the sensitivities through awakening the heart, those all tend to amplify. So there is this beginning to feel, that's that, okay. That is the sensory mode that comes through the heart. So.
Yeah. I appreciated what you just go back to the beginning, like the ancient Hindu or Indian idea of like the universe is arising out of vibration.
Right.
Can you speak to that a little bit? Is that?
So Nada Brahma. Brahma is the supreme creator. Nada, as I've heard it explained by a yogi, it literally refers to that the primordial creative pulse of the universe that moved into forming the conscious universe and then the physical universe. So, and that still exists as vibration. You know, we are vibratory beings. And as we unwind from all the constructs of our mental world, you know, you can fall into feeling that vibration as that primordial creative force. So that's why sound and music are so powerful in our world. You know, that's why rock stars are rock stars, because they are channels for this kind of vibratory, you know, expansive, creative, escapist connection. And why music is so expressive as the language of the soul, because it is tapping into that vibratory remembrance, which is the language of the soul. So the heart and the soul speak in vibration. You know, they can translate into words because they know how to communicate with our brains, but it's really about those qualities of vibration and the language of vibration and the communication that comes through vibration.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and I know on if we went to look at like more through the lens of physics, right? Things are vibrating, things are moving,
Right.
nothing's static.
Right.
And then, I mean,
It's hard to imagine. We are here. We are actually a billion atoms vibrating here, sitting on chairs, talking to each other, vibrating. We're communicating through vibrate. You're picking up my vibrations. I'm picking up your vibrations. You know?
Yeah, and then my mind tends to go to, well, yeah, it's mostly empty space, right? It's like everything's space.
Right.
But I think space plus vibration. Like, it's not just space. It's not just nothingness or emptiness, or it's this vibratory quality speaks like an energetic that's happening.
Yeah, and within that is consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, there's the physical aspect, but what the physicists and the scientists have yet to discover is the nature of consciousness and of awareness. So my friend Jonathon Goleman, who actually kind of coined the word sound healing, he puts together that it's vibration plus intention that creates sound healing, or that sound immersion.
So you're working a lot with intention through the music, through the sound.
Yeah, and that's what the mantras, the Vajrayana practices help focus, is how to channel that intention and the transmissions and the energies that come through.
I love that. Yeah, I've done, without getting into a lot of detail about it, I've done these beautiful Tibetan Buddhist practices, Vajrayana practices of, everything's emptiness, and then a seed syllable.
Yeah.
There's a seed syllable that then, like, the universe is like born out of this vibrating syllable of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the Nada Brahma. That is returning back to those core primordial vibrational force that Brahma made back at the beginning of the universe.
I guess
that was not too long ago.
I guess the most famous one is Om, right? Om. A lot of people hear about, but
yeah, it's the most popular right now. And different traditions have different seed syllables. They're the bija mantras from the Vedas, and the Tibetans have their Om Ahung.
Right.
So those are the different seed sounds.
Om Ahung, and often Hri.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful to think about and contemplate, and even just as you talk about it, I'm kind of like, everything is vibration. It's just there's something to it to tune into and experience.
And what my teachings, my guides, I have this guide, his name is Al Thor, and he kind of gives me information that part of the change that is really important for humans now is to move from understanding these concepts in our brain to actually feeling them and being them. And again, that's part of the heart consciousness. So, we're not just understanding the concept of emptiness and seed sound, but we're actually able to experience and become and feel and transmit that core root primordial consciousness.
Beautiful.
And in the Tibetan Vajrayana practice, the Lama gives the transmission. So when they're doing the Amitabha mantra, Om, which has a Hri in it, Om Amidewa Hri.
Yeah.
They're actually not only reciting the mantra, but they're actually sending a psychic transmission of that pure primordial light. So that is that Vajra radiance. So they're being it, and they're expanding it and manifesting it, as well as just explaining it and conceptualizing it mentally.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're vibrating at it, in theory.
Yeah.
Embodying it, realizing it, and there's the transmission quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a rich, it makes me think about, I guess part of my map of the world is things seem concrete and they seem very reified or solid, but the more subtle level they're vibrating, and it's, so it's almost like if you can really tune into that vibratory level, you could, like, for example, there's stories of Buddhist masters in the Buddhist tradition of, like, putting their handprint in rock. Like, that happens sometimes in Nepal and the Himalayas. You can see things like that there. And it's showing the kind of, we think it looks like a solid rock, but to them it wasn't. To them it was like Play-Doh or something.
Right. again, we live in such a physical, dense construct right now that those kinds of transcendent abilities are, there were masters. Padmasambhava did all kinds of miracles. And
a lot of stories.
We've gotten denser since then as well, and we've kind of, again, coming out of this very old, dense, convoluted, corrupt era of time. So beginning to remember those and see, can we actually transcend the physics of our gravitational universe?
Yeah, like the apparent physics, right? That's the thing. Like I wonder if the collective is making things so solid and real and dense. And maybe in past civilizations, there was a critical mass of people that were able to see more of the vibratory quality, the emptiness quality, whatever words you want to use.
Yeah, and that gets into the the alternative histories of were there higher consciousness beings, were there star beings that were dwelling on Earth in those early civilizations that helped do that because they had those abilities to build pyramids and do those transcendent beings.
Yeah, I don't know much about that kind of thing, but I've heard people talk about it. But
right.
The interesting thing is, like when you say that, I know like some people are like, and I kind of have this reaction a little bit myself, like, oh, that's like new agey, that's woo woo.
Right.
But there's so many ancient religious texts that basically are describing some version of that.
Yeah.
And maybe they just made that stuff up, but maybe they didn't. I mean.
I think there is more awareness of that coming.
Yeah.
Again, I found, not in the sense of history, but as I have done the work of activating my heart and connecting more and trusting my intuitive guidance, trusting my guides, that the broader reality of the universe, of existence, of life on Earth is much more than we are taught in our high schools and in colleges and understanding the physics, understanding the science is important, but we were very boxed into a very dense reality construct.
Yeah.
And that spiritual practice, meditation practice helps open to, there's a lot more going on here than we're aware. And there are, in my experience, there are these other dimensions and other beings that are present and watching over us and protecting us, helping in our individual and collective evolution. They tell me, this broader reality of pure consciousness is the real reality. Humans have gotten locked in this very dense construct of what's happened very tragically on Earth over the last millennium. And part of the awakening is, expanding out of that, moving out of those old familial constructs. Because the horrors of, war, slavery, genocide have traumatized our collective awareness into this very tight, as a therapist, you understand, as someone heals from trauma, their reality expands.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
And we're doing that collectively. And awakening to, there is actually much, much more than this.
Yeah.
Which to me, why, even this recent war, I don't know what the timing of this broadcast is, but with the work I do of trying to expand people's hearts and awareness into this larger reality, the gash of the war and the aggression happening in Europe right now was just like a kick in the gut of like, oh my God, I thought we were doing better than this.
Yeah.
I thought
a lot of people are having that reaction. Like it seems almost like from another era, like old-fashioned.
Yeah.
We're back in the 50s here. Like.
And what it does is it triggers everybody back into fear and caution and trauma reactivation, because those are the tools to shut down the heart and to shut down expanded awareness. And our ancestors survived through that, and we are now beginning through the tools of therapy and understanding neuroplasticity and nervous system response are able to remove and move out of those old trauma patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, think the war in Ukraine is really tragic. It's really affecting a lot of people emotionally in a way that, for whatever reasons, other wars of recent haven't. And at least here in America, Canada, Europe, and I had this interesting experience. I've been reading a lot about it, talking to people about it a lot, and then at my house, like trying to relax, putting on a Netflix show. There's this new Netflix show called Vikings that I've been getting into.
Oh, okay.
And then it's just this silly Netflix drama. I don't actually think it's that great of a show, but seeing these battles, you always see in the movies, but having just watched the news and seen that, I pause it. I'm like, wait a minute, like it's hard for me to enjoy this as entertainment when this is actually happening. Yeah. The ancestors of some of these Vikings are over there getting blown up right now, and it's tragic, and just interesting to watch my mind look at it. Like sometimes I can look at it kind of like the geopolitical chessboard, and it's like this very analytical thing. And then other times you like look at a story of someone who died, like if someone lost a family member, or a house that has a bomb in the middle of it, and you're like, that's just such a different thing. That's not a fucking chessboard. Those are people's lives that.
Yeah, it's horrible, and it's just raw, pure, unprovoked aggression and power lust, which to me, there's that place in the universe where the light and the dark are yin and yang and cycling and balancing, but you've probably heard in my sense of history that we're in this evolutionary process of trying to move out of a dark age where that was the dominant mode of exchange, was about power and money and power over. And as we connect into our hearts, we have this feeling of, we're all related. How we treat each other is important. Our actions based on love and compassion and mutual respect. And these are the qualities we're trying to nurture and awaken in humanity and ourselves. And when this dark force of just pure power and greed and aggression and destruction and all of a sudden lashes out again, it's painful. And so there is this battle between light and dark, and it's very confusing who's the light and who's the dark, because the dark calls them, the dark force thinks they're light and the light force thinks they're dark, and it's like all this projection. But I keep hoping that humanity had evolved beyond that, and obviously we haven't yet. So.
It's interesting. I mean, one thing I just thought of when you were talking just then is, this battle between light and dark, and often the response to the aggression, to the violence, to the forces of darkness, to just call it that, you then, of course, run the risk of becoming that thing that you're fighting against. And that's kind of the more powerful, kind of sophisticated superhero movies often have some element of that. Like Batman's fighting the bad guys. He's trying not to kill anyone. If you watch the Batman movies, he usually just like knocks them out or whatever.
Right.
But then the Joker's there trying to get him to cross that line. And I see that. I mean, that's so easy to see now with this. Like, what do we do? If we start fighting them, that's just going to that's going to make things worse probably, right? So, and it happens, on that level, it happens interpersonally. Like if someone abuses you or attacks you, to not respond, even if it feels very righteous. To not, somehow that cycle of violence has to stop. And
and also learning to create boundaries. I mean, they're the different levels of, yes, we are on the physical plane. We need to be attentive to our physical space and our safety. Again, it's odd because we're not really threatened here physically. We're still safe here, but we're feeling that happening out there, which is particularly for people that are empathic and intuitive. They're feeling the horror of what's going on there. But what my deeper practice is about is continuing to generate light, generate bodhicitta, which is, what the practices that I do are about generating that heart light, both for individuals in their own practice, but always as an all Tibetan practice, we always offer it out at the end.
Yes.
We dedicate the merit so that we send out through the light grid that this good energy, this heart awareness we have generated can go out and benefit all beings who are lost in the hell realms, and the hell realms are not always out in other dimensions. You know,
Yeah.
right now Ukraine is a hell realm, and Syria is a hell realm, Afghanistan is a hell realm. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, the United States government has some role in some of that, obviously.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I think having good boundaries is huge, and you can do that without wishing someone harm, right? It can actually be to help both of you.
Yeah.
Have a good boundary, and it's something I've been learning, continue to learn, and probably be learning the rest of my life. But I think it makes me think too, like the brighter the shadow. Sorry, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow.
Yeah.
The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. And so I think with Buddhist practice, it's really very aware of that. And so the giving away at the end of the merit, of the goodness, of the compassion, of the wisdom, like send it out, share it with everyone. It's like you don't need to build up this like I'm super bright in contrast to the super dark. It's operating at a level that's actually, the non-dual understanding that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need more of that, right? It's hard.
Yeah,
It's tricky.
and that non-dual, again, getting back to the prior conversation. So what I've been taught is that my mental awareness creates duality, separation. You are you, I am me. The Russians are bad, I am good, whatever that is. Left, right, good, bad, dark, light.
Yeah.
Heart consciousness generates unity because the heart is the place where all the opposites meet. So it is through heart awareness that we feel that connection. And I realize that what I do to harm myself harms you, and what I do to harm you harms me. And that generating good energy can be beneficial through the etheric plane. Again, this gets back to this expanded reality, because those dedications happen on the etheric plane. It goes out through the grid work to help strengthen the planetary light grid and touch other people's hearts. Because our hearts are all connected through the etheric plane.
Yeah, I like that.
And the circuitry. So this symbol here is the main image of the diamond light practices I do. We visualize the heart as an orb of light that sits right in the center of the chest. And then there's this circuitry, 6 axes of light: earth, sky, left, right, front, back, horizontal plane. That heart circuit connects us into that etheric grid. So that as we generate strength in that, the activities of our heart are both fed by the quantum connections, the etheric connections, but also what we do goes out and sends that light out.
Well, yeah. We're back to the heart. But so you see the heart as the place where we're actually connected on a quantum level, ethereal level, however you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Makes sense.
Yeah, indigenous cultures have known that. I mean, they've not forgotten it.
Right.
In Western scientific capitalist culture, that has been marginalized and repressed. But, any indigenous elder understands the power of the heart, that's where our soul is and where we listen to wisdom. And if you're feeling lost, it means you've lost connection with your heart.
Yeah. It's interesting to go back to the Buddhist Om Hong, the Om in this, here, forehead, Ah in the throat, Hong in the heart. The Hong is the mind, the Chitta, the Bodhicitta, the heart, what you're talking about. But you would think, I remember when I first learned that, I was like, wait a minute, I thought the mind would be up here. No, it's in the heart. That's where they center it in that culture, in India and Tibet and a lot of cultures.
Because consciousness, our connection to consciousness is through the heart. It's just been isolated. And again, through trauma, restricted to bring awareness. And through our training, in Western culture, you go to school and only the mind is trained, only the brain is trained.
Right. Yeah.
They don't teach us how to work with the heart and how to open intuitive and empathetic and heart sensitivities, how to feel those connections. So there are schools, there are mystical schools that begin to teach these things. Vajrayana practice teaches these things.
Do you know much about Western esoteric traditions? Have you studied that as much? Not as much.
A little bit. There's Blavatsky, and I know some of that history.
Anyway, yeah, it's true. It's amazing in terms of talking about healers. My brother is a MD, medical doctor, and so he went through so much schooling, so much training, but yeah, totally, or I would say almost completely, conceptual.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he told me all the years of schooling and training to become a doctor he had one class on nutrition, like not a semester class, like one class. Like,
Wow.
and like
Wow.
nutrition obviously is so important to our health, so fundamental. So the way we train our doctors and our whole medical, that's a whole other conversation, but our whole medical system is so, what's the word, head-centric,
Absolutely.
conceptual-centric.
Yeah, yeah. And part of the unwinding, I mean, like when you and I say the word shaman, we know we're talking about someone who can go into mystic realms and walk in dreams. But I was reading a book recently about Brazilian plant medicines, and the anthropologists who were going in and working and studying these shamans in the rainforests in the Amazon, the standard in Western science, even in anthropology, was that if anyone talked about hearing voices from spirits or traveling in dreams, they were considered schizophrenic, psychotic,
Right.
and just boom, totally rejected.
Yeah.
So as these Western scientists started going in and drinking these teas and having these mystical experiences with the Brazilian plant medicines, they were then being marginalized. But they were also saying, well, no, this is real, and I'm still able to think and communicate. I'm not psychotic, but I had this mystical experience. I was communicating with this spirit of the panther, this spirit of the jaguar. And so they've begun to bridge that. But that line, particularly through the 50s, 60s, 70s, the early anthropology explorations there, it was very difficult because they were taught that if anyone had any mention of that they were psychotic, schizophrenic, and rejected. So the word shaman early in those days were people that were psychotic.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it was...
And now, many of us are in awe of the shamans and want to be shamans.
It's amazing history.
Yeah.
The kind of so-called hippie revolution helped shift and change this. But yeah, I mean, what was it? The behavioralists, that was kind of like the apex of materialism in the world of psychology, where they believed literally that consciousness was a mere epiphenomena of our body, and that we were all just like these reacting automons. And you could see how things like the Nazis, for example, came out of some of those kinds of belief systems, because you're just reducing it as pure material, dumb processes. And it's amazing that anyone could really believe that, but they did. And
Yeah, and again, that was part of the programming of particularly the last 400 years. And there was programming of intentionally trying to, sort of enslave and keep the masses indoctrinated so they would be good workers, and keep the power with the elites. But that, again, is unraveling at this time as we undo racism and we undo classism and we undo, gender.
I appreciate you naming those. We're making so much progress in those ways, right?
Yeah, if you look where we are now, even though there's weird stuff popping up in Texas and, Republicans being bizarre, if you compare where we are now to where even 50 years ago, the collective consciousness was, we have progressed immensely.
Yeah, I think you're right. I absolutely think you're right. I hope that the war in Ukraine will, in its own way, help us to, through uniting the world against it, will help us to move forward collectively. I see that happening. So hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah, I feel like there is a collective impetus to really isolate Russia and try to say this is wrong, this is bad. And is there enough momentum in the collective heart to really affect the outcome? That's where the etheric mysticism gets what will happen?
Maybe.
Will it undo it? Will the Russian soldiers drop their guns and refuse to fight?
Interesting. I mean, it's so when we're recording this, I think it's day 12 of something like that, of the 12 or 13 of the conflict, and Ukraine is standing strong, which is surprising everyone, because Russia seems like they have such an overwhelming force.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens.
And, we're hearing stories of Russian soldiers who were refusing to fight. And So yeah, how it plays out will be, I'm not likely to predict, but that is the hope, that somehow that there is enough, what's the word, luminosity in the collective heart to really shift the outcome in a way that will not be, the dark, repressive, authoritarian, regime that Russia is wanting to implement there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's worth saying to not blame the Russian people, right?
Right.
If we always want to blame something, we should.
Well,
probably should blame
they're all
them.
being censored and repressed now too.
Right.
They can't even talk about it without going to prison. So,
Yeah.
which is the nature of the reality that they're trying to impose on Ukraine. So.
I didn't expect our conversation to go here, but it's good. It's worth talking.
Yeah,
about.
politics can be delicate, but
But it just, one thing I'm getting from you is a clear sense of how spiritual practice, so to speak, is helping the collective.
right.
And I think that's true. I think it's good. I think maybe one day, even scientifically, we'll be able to understand some more of these connections. And an example of this, to make it way less woo-woo, so to speak, if you have a group of people and someone comes into that room and expresses like a lot of anger, say, or maybe a lot of sadness, an intense emotion. Let's go with anger. They're yelling.
Right.
Everyone in that room is affected, right?
Yep.
They pick up on that emotion. They have some reaction, and you could look at that. You could look at their brain scans. You could look at their physiological reaction.
Yep.
Maybe their heart elevates, and so emotions are contagious. And
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so that's an avenue into understanding how powerful are the way we impact everyone around us. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, would now be a good time to do the sound?
Sure.
Is that?
Give me a minute to go
Yeah.
and set up, and we'll come back. I'll be sitting in my little pyramid here. And,
Okay. And do you want to share with us a little bit about your intentions with it?
Sure. So this is a set of tuned Tibetan bowls, and the bowls themselves are handmade in Nepal as healing instruments, very high quality sound. What my guides have told me is that the pure vibrational field they create is very similar to the Vajra light, that pure Vajra light. So that the vibration of the bowls resonates that Vajra light in our hearts. So that's why they're so powerful. They help bring that out. And then with the bowls, I do Vajrayana mantra. I'll do Om Mani Padme Hum, because that's just the most well-known of the Vajrayana mantras. So that's adding this additional seed sound transmission that we were talking about before, as well as speaking that its message of awakening the Vajra light in the heart. So we call it the diamond light, but the Tibetans call it the Vajra, which is that luminous light that is our essential nature, our pure conscious nature. So I will do a little tuning in with that and do a transmission, and then we can come back if you have more thoughts, comments, or questions. So. Okay, so I'm going to do a sound transmission of the Om Mani Padme Hum. The translation of Om Mani Padme Hum is the jewel in the lotus, and what it's the intention of the mantra is that as we chant it, it allows that jewel, which is that Vajra diamond light in our heart centers, to open. The lotus flower opens. So the petals of the lotus frequently contain and protect the heart light. And as we chant the mantra, it allows those petals to open so that that light can shine forth. So what I invite you to do, if you want to join along in this, is to bring your hands to your heart. Just let the energy of your hands connect into your heart center. And you can visualize, perceive with your inner eye that your heart is this beautiful orb of light. Kind of like this beautiful orb of light here. It glows, radiates pure diamond effervescence. Just breathing into your heart for a moment. And then, in addition to that orb of light, you can see, as in this image here, that from the base of it, there's an axis of light, of energy that descends down through your root chakra, down to the heart of the earth. And then, again, from that orb of light, we send another axis of light, a beam of energy up through the crown chakra, up into the stars. Reaching up into the very heart of creation. So now we've opened this beautiful conduit of energy, your heart connected to the heart of the earth and the heart of the universe, the heart of creation. And then out horizontally, we send an axis of light, left and right, through, I send them through my hands, from the heart. And that connects into the etheric grid, the web of light, the jeweled fabric of the universe. And then front and back, again, sending in the four directions, left, right, front, back, four axes of light, connecting the heart into the beautiful web of creation. We call this the circuit of light, the diamond light circuit, through which all things are connected. And as we chant the mantra, we will generate light in our heart, sending it out through that grid work. So just letting yourself hold this beautiful architecture. Move into the mantra practice. May great waves of beneficial energy, of bodhicitta, noble heart energy, be manifest in all worlds, in all realms, without obstacle, for the benefit of all being. You can bring your hands back to your heart where, where we started. Observing how you feel in your body, in your energy body, in your heart presence. When you have received the pure vibration of the bowls, the Vajra light transmission. And remembering this simple act of bringing your hands to your heart as a way of connecting, encoding your consciousness with a way to connect with your heart. And that final offering was the dedication of merit, where we took even this little bit of good, pure vibrational generation and offered it out through that circuitry for the benefit of all beings. So yeah, give us a minute and we will come back and continue the conversation with Julian. We'll be right back. All right, here we are, back again.
Back. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that, the word, we talk in words and that sort of helps our brains understand what's happening, but the sounds communicates on a whole different level. And that kind of heart, etheric, intuitive transmission. So.
Yeah, it gets us out of our normal thinking. And
Yeah.
It was interesting. At first I was sitting up and then I laid down and it just felt so good to relax and receive and be with it.
Yeah.
But I kind of had this image in my mind after our conversation of everyone kind of like stars in the sky, like these points of light, all connected.
Yeah.
The matrix of light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tibetans call it the jeweled fabric of the universe, of which every heart is an integral part. So you can sort of see in that web that each of our hearts, each of our pearls of light is a jewel in that web.
I love that. Yeah, I know there's a famous sutra that talks about the jewel of light, a net of jewels.
Right.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And each jewel reflecting the other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, good.
It's good to be with the mantra that you were saying too. I think in my own practice, I'll say a mantra like that as part of a practice.
Right.
but I don't often take the time to slow down and really feel the vibratory quality of it, the sound quality of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good to do that.
Yeah, and there's a beautiful, actually, that was a gift from Kat from Bhutan, but that circle up on the wall is 108 Omanipemihongs. And just seeing it in that form, I don't know if I want to bring it down and show it here,
Sure.
but when I see it in this form, it reminds me this is an ancient cosmic language. That's 108 Omanipemihong in a circle around an Om. This was hand painted in Bhutan, and just every time I look at it, I sort of get the transmission of this ancient cosmic language that communicates vibrationally, as well as, again, our minds sort of get the concept of it, but it's this construct of seed sounds that talk, that speak to, communicate vibrationally with our hearts, with our souls, with our energy bodies that understand that language. And for centuries and centuries, monks in Tibet lived in caves, holding the teachings through the dark time, so that we would have the benefit of the Dharma to help us remember and awaken and reconnect with our inherent spiritual wisdom.
Yeah, it's good to remember that. And it's not just, romantic thinking. It's like when the communists came in, they're literally doing that.
Yeah.
And lucky we have some of these practices and teachings still alive today.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. Do you want to speak to this? This is copper, right? You've built it.
Yes, this is a copper pyramid. It's my traveling pyramid. So pyramids are amplifiers of sound, of energy, and it helps focus and amplify the transmission of the work that I'm doing. I really notice it when I don't have it. It just feels a little more like, and when I'm in there, it's just like, whew, boom. It focuses direct and amplifies. So I do some of the more advanced practices in the heart circuit involve double pyramids. You can see that there, that not only do we do the circuits, but we also then build a double pyramid around the heart and around the outer body.
You mean like in a visualization?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So those are more advanced practices.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my traveling pyramid. Have pyramid, will travel.
Beautiful. You can hit the road.
Yeah. I've toured with it. It comes apart very quickly.
That's cool. I love the interplay connection with modern technology and some of these ancient spiritual teachings, practices, ways of being, art, music. I think it. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, hopefully our people listening felt that and got something good from it. And
I hear that the energies do transmit through the technology. I do a lot of live streams and Zoom events, and people really they get juiced by it. They feel the energy moving through. So that's good to know.
Yeah, and I'll link that in the show notes for the episode so people can check out your websites.
Maybe I'll just, so it's, the Diamond Light Network is the main body of the teachings right now, and there's a website, diamondlightnetwork.com. There's also a Facebook group, Diamond Light Network, and those both have the schedule of the weekly live streams that I do and the Zoom events, and I'll be playing hopefully start touring again now that we're coming out of COVID. I used to tour all over the country.
Sweet.
I'm playing at the Arise Festival that's coming up in May, doing a sound temple space there. And but those are the ways to keep connected. There's an email list that you can connect with through either of those, either the Facebook group or the website. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you, Julian. Appreciate it. Good luck with your work, and nice to connect. It was a fun conversation.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of A State of Mind podcast. If you found value in this podcast and would like to support it, one of the easiest and best ways you can do so is just share about it with friends and family, post about it on your own social media accounts. You can now leave us a review on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts, and you can send us a voice memo through most podcast listening apps. You can learn more about my work as a meditation teacher, coach, and psychotherapist and my other offerings at astateofmindcounseling.org. And you can become a supporting member at patreon.com/astateofmind, where you can receive guided meditations, extra videos, extra artwork, and music, and other goodies for subscribing members. See you here next time. Until then, all the best.